Well, let's get deeper into this story of exactly what is the implication of the statements which have been made by the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat in his address. The BJP is not a majority government. The Sarsanghachlak certainly seems to be suggesting something in terms of what he believes should be the political decorum. It should be maintained by political parties. With me, well-known author, a tracker of the RSS for many, many years, Ratan Shadari, joining us live. Good to have you with us today on Squirrels, Ratan.
Namaskar, Bhupendra ji. Thanks for calling me on a platform.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure speaking to you, Ratan ji. सबसे पहले जरा समझाइए रतन जी. I put out a tweet in the morning yesterday, and I have been bombarded with messages from our viewers who all want to know: is the RSS chief unhappy with the style of functioning of a Modi-led BJP?
Bhupendra ji, first of all, let us be very clear that Sarsanghachlak ji talked in a very glowing terms of what this Modi government has done in last 10 years. So RSS is not unhappy. The cadre is not unhappy with what has been achieved so far. When he made the comment about bitterness of this public discourse and the way, that atmosphere is being vitiated by, very angry tones and insulting behavior, etc., etc., that is for all the political parties. In fact, see how we think similarly. He's a great leader or top of the organization, but a normal swimsuit like me wrote 3 days before the last phase saying that let us return to sane politics. SANE, sane politics, because sanity is lost. I've been on the TVs for last 10 years. I've written, I've talked. I've never seen this kind of toxicity. And this is the result of what kind of politics that opposition is pushing when they don't recognize constitutionally elected government,
But
when they don't
exactly
recognize a single word.
But
So
Ratan ji,
in this, BJP also comes, but to say that he's unhappy with the BJP is not the right way. Right is that the level of discourse in politics must be restored. That is the message.
But
he said election is over. He said election is over. अभी वापस अपनी जगह पे आए.
हाँ, वो आपकी बात ठीक है. Election is over. वापस अपनी जगह पे आए. But I'm just, let me just draw your attention to some of the words which have been used by him, and the words which he has used is what has really caught my attention. When he talks about an hour and a half into his speech, he's speaking about building consensus in parliament. कि संसद में कौन जाता है? संसद में वो लोग जाते हैं. सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं. आपको दूसरे पक्ष की बात सुननी चाहिए. He is going to the extent of saying, why are you calling them विपक्ष? विरोधी नहीं है, वो तो प्रतिपक्ष है. So is this not a very direct, I wouldn't even say veiled, is this not a very direct message to the BJP?
Well, RSS has always been in favor of consensus. You know that, I know that it doesn't take decision without consensus. He said because consensus is not possible in politics, we have gone for majority kind of decision making. But at the same time, not to treat opponent as an enemy has been the stance of BJP for a long time. That is the reason, RSS for a long time. That is the reason we have been able to co-opt.
Is he not suggesting, Ratan ji, sorry to hold you there, but when he says कि आप स्पर्धा में हैं और आप जा रहे हैं चुनाव में और आप 100 की 100 सीटें आप लाना चाहते हैं, लेकिन ये संभव नहीं है. Should I not read this as a critique, perhaps, of अब की बार 400 पार?
Why this critique cannot be targeted at Congress at the same time? I again say that this particular statement is due for any political party, including BJP. Even earlier, he had very clearly said, we don't want Congress Mukt Bharat. We want every party to thrive and be there. He said many years back, when BJP was in I would say, the most powerful status as compared to today. So the call for consensus, call for toning down, call for taking people along is an appeal right now because BJP is ruling is also appeal to BJP, no doubt about it. Because as I said in my own article, I said that if we start conversations with the people, we start with community, we will come to know what the community wants, what people want, and then passing the bill, implementing them becomes much more easier. For example, if farmer bill had been discussed in much more detail in Lok Sabha, if it had been taken to the farmers themselves, when 90% farmers were with this particular bill, but because of lack of communication, they were never brought on the national scene. Only that one community, one particular geographical part took away the entire monopoly of the discussion. That problem arose. If this particular approach had been taken by BJP at that time, it would have worked.
Let me ask you this question, Ratanji. Do you think the real problem today in our country, see, there are individuals like you, you're a well-known academic, a scholar, an author. However, I find that there are certain individuals in the country who take extreme positions Like someone has spoken about, doing an Israel in Kashmir. Now, such entities may not have any constitutional validity, may not have any validity, let me say, even within the Sangh Parivar. But would you say that the problem with the right wing today is there are so many custodians of this right wing ideology that you yourself are getting stuck in terms of which is that correct right wing nationalistic ideology which should actually be propagated?
See, while the clear-cut stand or the competition of ideology between the national forces vis-a-vis the people who believe in the Western worldview of India is very clear. When it comes to the Hindutva side, or I will call it non-left or Hindutva or national side, there are so many claimants because as it becomes popular, there are so many people to encash it or take extreme position which makes them popular because the Indian society is so much in turmoil that sense of hurt, that sense of being insulted all the time is so strong. Anybody who takes the extreme position becomes popular. It may be marginal player, but that person becomes popular, tries to influence the decision making. While people like us are then abused by the same people. I'm trolled more by the so-called ultra Hindus than by the seculars. So this atmosphere of that hurt that Hindu society is going through is exploited by such people who have no stakes, no skin in the game because they rose only up 2014. Before 2014, they would not have any place to even stand.
So let me
when
let
we
me,
were
let
not
me
given a
take that
public
point.
stance, what would these people get?
But let me take this point further then. Do you think actually the problem, and maybe the RSS chief is hinting at that there are several opportunistic people, opportunistic minds, opportunistic, we could call them tweeters, trollers, whatever, who all gotten themselves on the BJP bandwagon as long as the BJP bandwagon was rising.
Yes.
Now, suddenly there is an obstacle. What do you think? Do you think it's a problem today?
See, the people who vitiated the atmosphere by taking extreme stance on many of the policy issues, when they say big gaye, phalane ho gaye, mullah ban gaye, and whatnot, all kind of, very hateful kind of stance they took and tried to create a negative image of a very positive movement. They have nothing to lose, not to gain. So those who are though hitched on to BJP directly, they might think that they have to change their course, but BJP is going nowhere for their own information, for their own sanity. They should stick to their stance. But people who created this kind of atmosphere, they should realize that they have done no good to the society by taking that extreme stance. See, Hindus by nature, Indians by nature are moderate. They are not extremist. See, none of the leader could rise in India except Jinnah, who belong to exclusivist kind of faith system. No Hindu leader rose despite all the best efforts, opening people's eyes. Today, cast one over the Hindutva element, right? Because of fake news of Rahul Gandhi and company. So we have to be moderate. We have to take people along, every shade of opinion to take along. If that is done, people will come along. But the people who thought that they can polarize and thrive on social media with good TRP and make money, they have to realize they are harming the society.
Okay, that's a very important point I think you're making. And just as a follow-up to that, Ratanji, do you think the Samanvay ki sthiti that the RSS chief is speaking about, is it really a part of the DNA of Narendra Modi? Right since his days of Gujarat chief minister, he's been his own man. Now look at, even as you and I are speaking, what's happening within the NDA, TDP saying, I'm not happy with this ministry, I want the speakership. The entire cult of Modi was based on a certain decision-making mechanism. Do you think coalition and Modi, do they go hand in hand with each other?
See, Modi ji was an RSS prachar for 15 years before he went to BJP. So naturally, he knows the value of consensus and how to achieve it. Because the biggest skill of RSS pracharas and RSS workers is creating consensus, taking people along. Secondly, a person who could bring along warring factions in the global stage and talk to them and get what he wants, the deal, what he wants with the people on the opposite side of the fence, in case of wars in Ukraine and Russia or the other wars that are happening, and taking people out of the war zone, etc. But who can adjust and take best possible deal with world leaders, negotiate the deals. You think you cannot negotiate the deal with local leaders? He will
Why?
take,
But
definitely.
that's been the reality. But Ratanji, 150 MPs were suspended from parliament. Look at the spate, the onslaught which was unleashed against the opposition. Do you think all that passed?
I would say that this kind of disciplinary action should have been taken long back. Then you would not need to suspend 150 MPs. You would have suspended just only 1 or 2 or 5 MPs. When they created tamasha on CAA, and all other acts that were put together, and that stalled parliament every time. They just came to create ruckus. When the discussion was held, they walked out. So was that that was the right approach? No. So this bitterness is the result of opposition continuously stalling every kind of legal job that is done by Lok Sabha. So at the last stage, when they suspend 150 MPs, okay, you see that is non-consensus, but for 9 years they suffered this.
So
So
let
many
me ask,
business was lost. So did
So-
anybody regret? Did anybody say that okay, once we talk, we'll listen to you?
Okay.
Mr. Rahul Gandhi comes, makes all kind of fancy statements. Then the answer is given, he walks out. Entire opposition walks out when the voting is done.
okay.
That is where communication becomes very important. If BJP is not being able to convince you, how is the BJP going to convince the people? So that is the communication that we're talking about.
So lastly then, sir, do I then say that this is not like the head of the family, the head of the Sangha Parivar, who's actually expressing a bit of his disappointment with one of its own proteges, which is the BJP?
Not disappointed. Again, see,
I'm saying.
that is the party or the disciple, as you call it, or the junior partner, because RSS doesn't believe in junior partner. I wrote years back when they were not in power that BJPs or all other organizations like VHP, BMS, they've grown so big that or RSS anyway believes in autonomy of every organization. It cannot dictate because जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं कि अगर पिता के जूते में बेटे का पैर आने लग गया तो उनको दोस्त की तरह बिहेव करना चाहिए. आरएसएस
यही तो बात नड्डा जी ने कही थी ना सर.
So
JP
RSS
Nadda, the BJP president, was saying exactly this. We were saying we are so big now, we don't need the RSS. RSS can go, do its own ideological work.
Well, I've said in many places what Nadari said, I would have said anyway if it was in some other circumstances. I've said it in other circumstances because RSS believes every organization must have its own cadre, its own pracharak, its own organization. Only that way you can grow. You cannot supply, RSS trained Swayamsevak to every organization. They are they'll be growing very fast. In that case, what he said was right. The occasion was wrong. And the finesse of the argument was wrong. And at the very wrong time, the RSS, see what happens today, as I said, that today you don't read the news, today you don't listen to the speech. You pick up one sentence, that sentence becomes the news. That sentence becomes the driving force, that sets the narrative. And in this particular case, one sentence was picked up, and a Swayamsevak on the field doesn't have the time to ponder over like people like us. We were on the field also, and the person in the field has very simplistic view. ये काम करना है, ये काम करना है. And then they don't listen to diversionary talks. But when somebody like him, Nadaji speaks, and the Swayamsevak is conveyed that he's saying RSS is zarurat nahi hai, then you have a problem, and naturally the problem, burst on the face. So timing was wrong, and articulating was not maybe correctly done because that is what was picked up by the media as is the job, and unfortunately that is what the Swayamsevak heard, and they felt hurt. There is no doubt about it. To my mind, the stand was not wrong. It was presentation was wrong.
Well, great pleasure speaking to you, Ratanji, and getting a clarification.
Thank you so much.